And to the presidential campaign. Tensions are running high as Republican candidates prepare for voters to head to the polls in 2 more primaries tomorrow. Kwame Holman has our report.
The Republican candidates had packed schedules, one day ahead of the Michigan and Arizona primaries. Mitt Romney's first of 3 rallies was in Rockford, Michigan, a state where his father once was governor.
We're going to stop some of this excessive spending and finally cut federal programs so we can balance our budget. I'm also going to take programs and send a lot of them that we need back to the states, because I believe the states can do a better job running some programs than the federal government.
In Detroit, Texas Congressman Ron Paul also focused on spending and debt.
It used to be we thought about distant generations. Oh, you're passing this debt off to our kids and our grandchildren. Let me tell you, the mess that we're in now is today. It's us.
And former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum played up his economic reform plan at a local chamber of commerce just west of Detroit.
We can do things different, and we can be successful in doing it. But our plan is bold. It doesn't just, take an existing tax code and play around with it in 59 or 69 or 89 different tweaks. What we do is fundamentally wholesale change.
Santorum also called for religion to play a wider role in public policy. Sunday on ABC, he defended that view, saying he almost threw up when he read John F. Kennedy's 1960 statement that separation of church and state should be absolute.
Well, absolutely. To say that people of faith have no role in the public square, you bet that makes you throw up. What kind of country do we live in that says only people of non-faith can come in the public square and make their case? That makes me throw up.
The 4th Republican in contention, Newt Gingrich, was leaving frontrunners Romney and Santorum to fight for Michigan and Arizona, while he looked to Super Tuesday states that vote March 6th. Gwen Ifill spent last week in Arizona, sounding out voters there.
Diane Burnett has her political priorities in order. As a member of the Arizona Tea Party, she's certain of one thing. She wants to defeat President Obama.
Just sign up right here, and then I'm going to email you, and I'll contact you directly and give you all the information.
So Burnett switched from independent to Republican and set out to find a candidate she could support.
Immigration is very important to us here. I have friends who live on the border who won't go out in their backyard without a gun. Americans shouldn't live that way.
Last week, her search took her to a GOP luncheon in Phoenix, where former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum was the featured speaker.
The scary part is to falling into that who's electable, instead of who you really want. I think that's what people are trying to decide. Which way do I go? Who do I think can get elected, and who do I really support?
This election is about foundational things.
Santorum went over big.
Whether we're going to have the government under Obamacare and a whole host of other things, cap and trade that he has put forward, Dodd-Frank, as to what loan you're going to get, what light switch you can turn on, what light bulb, what car you're going to drive. Will you be the generation that succumbed to the siren song that government can do better for you than you can do for yourself?
By the time the luncheon ended, an informal party straw poll went to Santorum. And Diane Burnett had made up her mind, too.
I was very impressed that he spoke from the heart, no teleprompters. That was impressive. So, yeah, I think I'm going to give him Santorum my vote.
Burnett, who also liked Herman Cain and wishes Sarah Palin had run, is part of the biggest moving target in this year's primary race. Republicans who can't or won't warm to Mitt Romney.
How are you?
According to the latest statewide poll, Romney is comfortably ahead in Arizona, but for him, there have been no easy wins. The big issues here, border security, high unemployment, home foreclosures, have made this state fertile breeding ground for fiscal conservatives. But social issues like religion, abortion, and gun ownership have resonated just as strongly.
We've been married 42 years now.
Romney has gone out of his way to erase what polls show as his weakness with the party's most conservative voters.
Are we going to become like a European social welfare state with high unemployment, high burdens, high debt, low job growth, or are we going to restore the kind of values that the nation was founded upon? I'm going to take the federal spending budget, look at line by line, and I'm going to ask this question. Can we afford this program? And if we can't afford it, If we can't pay for it out of current revenues, I'll ask this question. Is this program so essential it's worth borrowing money from China to pay for it? And if not, I'll get rid of it.
Romney's presumed frontrunner status has been challenged in contest after contest this primary season, as the former Massachusetts governor and his supporters have spent tens of millions of dollars confronting one surging candidate after another.
You have to ask yourself, what electorate? If you look at all registered voters, pretty moderate electorate. But if you look at the voters that go to the polls on Election Day, they tend to be pretty right-wing.
Pollster Bruce Merrill says the volatility has been driven by a committed minority of conservative voters.
My research shows that about 20% of the people in Arizona are evangelical, Tea Party, way right. Another 20% of Republicans say they support basically what's happening with the Tea Party. So somewhere around half of the people in Arizona are at least sympathetic. Really, the bigger picture, what's happened from day one, the conservatives don't like Romney.
In last week's Arizona debate, Newt Gingrich and Ron Paul said they too will make promises to conservative base voters, but they'll keep them.
You've got to have somebody who can actually get it done in Washington, not just describe it on the campaign trail.
I find it really fascinating that when people are running for office, they're really fiscally conservative. When they're in office, they do something different. And then when they explain themselves, they say, oh, I want to repeal that.
Savannah Rogers, a homeschooling mother of 5, likes Santorum's emphasis on social rather than economic issues.
The social issue is pretty foundational. I think that economy is going to change, going to come, going to go, going to be good, going to be bad. I don't really believe that one person can control that necessarily. I think that foundationally where he stands with the social issues is kind of like underlying all of his decisions, whether they're financial or foreign or any of those other issues.
Romney voters like Bethany Messler, who came to see him speak at a Christian academy here, reached a different conclusion.
When it comes to a politician, you're not going to find someone who's going to be side by side with you in every value. And at the same time, I think the issues that will come up when he's actually governing are going to be more related to the economy and to jobs and unemployment rather than, say, a social issue that may be more important to me on a side issue. But like I said, with the economy, it's when you're paying $5 a gallon for gas and your dad lost his job, those things are more important.
Senator John McCain has endorsed Romney, but some of the state's most well-known conservative names have pointedly refused to take sides. Controversial Law and Order Sheriff Joe Arpaio met with Santorum last week, but hedged his bets.
Well, I like a fighter. What do you think I am? I mean, I ran 20 years ago. Nobody knew me. I keep fighting, but I do what I feel is right. He does, too.
Arpaio has grown disenchanted with Romney.
Romney, I was his campaign guy 4 years ago. Well, he seems to have forgot my number.
Former State Senator Russell Pierce, the author of SB 1070, the state's strict anti-immigration legislation, won't endorse either.
I think because they all have good things. We never had a perfect candidate. You can never let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I mean, and if you're looking for a perfect guy, we'll never get there.
Governor Jan Brewer, who famously confronted President Obama at an Arizona airport, was still undecided as late as last week.
It has been a very interesting presidential campaign with somebody up on top and then somebody on the bottom and then vice versa.
And you honestly believe any of these 4 candidates who are still on the stage can beat Barack Obama in the fall?
Oh, I did not say that. I said that I believe that they're all very talented, but I think that they surely would serve us probably a lot better than President Obama has.
But yesterday on Meet the Press, she threw her support to Romney.
I think that things will settle down, and I think that after Super Tuesday, we'll have our candidate.
Romney supporters like Arizona State Senator Michelle Reagan worry that extended infighting will hurt Republicans in the long run.
Rick Santorum, to me, is, and I'm not a political analyst, but it just seems like he's the last man standing that isn't a Romney. So they've kind of gone through everyone else. I wish that my party would gather together around one person and be gung-ho, whoever that person is, and because the real prize is November. It's not these primaries.
But Congressman Trent Franks, who supports Gingrich, believes the ongoing uncertainty is revealing.
There's a search for a better alternative than Mr. Romney, because they're the core conservative elements that make up this party, which are really the heart of the party, oftentimes hear an equivocation or sort of a subliminal ambiguity in what Mr. Romney says. And many times it seems like when asked a direct question, Mr. Romney is a master at answering in a completely different way.
State Party Chairman Tom Morrissey is unconcerned about the anybody but Romney fight.
It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything. I think it's great. I really think it's great. And, some of my colleagues think that it's not. But it is, because I look back at 2008, and I remember the war that went on between President Obama and Hillary Clinton. And that went into June. And when that was done, it made President Obama a stronger candidate going into the election.
So as all four candidates ramp up for tomorrow's voting and for primaries and caucuses in 10 states on March 6th, each is hoping that what does not eliminate him now will make him stronger in the fall. No matter what voters decide tomorrow, all four candidates say they are preparing for a series of contests that could last until June. For more on what that scenario means for the eventual nominee and for the incumbent president, we turn to Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief of USA Today, and Stuart Rothenberg of the Rothenberg Political Report and Roll Call newspaper. So 24 hours from now, how critical, Susan, is tomorrow night, is the outcome?
It is everything. I mean, we're pretty sure Governor Romney will win Arizona, but whether or not he wins Michigan is in some doubt. He's in the Real Clear Politics averaging of state polls. He's up 1.5 points, wow, which is not a safe margin. If he loses,
it's not a margin at all.
That's right. If he loses in Michigan, all bets are off. We're going to have the kind of race that we would hope to cover. We would spend our lives as political reporters hoping to cover. If he wins in Michigan, even if it's not a big win, a narrow win, it seems to me he gets back on track for the nomination.
Stu, you heard what those folks in Arizona were saying about looking around for somebody else. What is driving that? This is not the only state where we've heard that.
Well, I think there is dissatisfaction with the field. We've seen the survey data shows that people wish somebody else were in the race. There's been a lack of enthusiasm in many of these contests, caucuses and primaries. I think people want to be able to get excited about a single candidate. Republicans understand their party is divided, and that is a terrible situation for a party to be in. The country looks to parties for leadership and strength and ideas and vision. And when you have candidates attacking one another in a party, supporters attacking one another, it gives a very sour taste, I think, to many voters, and even the partisans realize that.
And in a state like Michigan, Democrats can cross and vote the other way, and there's some mischief going on, isn't there, Susan?
Well, there's some talk that Democrats will move over. They can declare themselves Republicans just for the moment, vote in that primary, and some Democratic leaders have said, go vote for Santorum, on the theory that scrambles the Republican race for a while longer. I think sometimes these opportunities for mischief are overstated. I don't know that I can think of a case where it really made a big difference. On the other hand, if you have a very close race, every vote could matter.
What this is. So if this is going on longer than Mitt Romney would have liked, is he being strengthened and tested in some way, or is he being weakened because he's being forced to spend all of his money in a primary race?
Well, the Republican optimists would say, yes, he's being tested and steeled, and he will know now the kind of attacks he's going to get in the fall from the Democrats and President Obama's campaign, and that's true. That's all that is right. On the other hand, I think that the other hand is somewhat larger in this case. Mitt Romney's negatives are going up. He's under the microscope. He has stumbled here and there with some comments. He is being picked apart by his opponents and by the national media. His negatives are going up. So I think the bottom line of this is that it's probably doing more damage to him than good. Although there is this, you really have to be tested. You have to go through the ringer to be prepared for a general election.
And you can't be defeated by nobody. So how strong is the latest challenger to the throne? That is Rick Santorum. Does he have the money, the organization to actually knock Mitt Romney off?
You know, he doesn't have as much money as Mitt Romney. He certainly doesn't have the organization he has. But if he managed to win tomorrow night in Michigan, he would have the momentum that would carry him to those Super Tuesday contests just a week away. A week later, Alabama and Mississippi. I mean, there is a wave to these things. Now, one thing we are now seeing, though, is Santorum's support nationally is starting to ebb. He was 10 points above Mitt Romney in the Gallup National Tracking Poll when we were here last week. Today, he is down 4. That's a huge swing. And it's the same kind of swing we've seen with other anybody but Romney candidates. We saw it with Gingrich twice in the last 2 months, and now with Santorum, where they surge up, they beat Romney, they get some scrutiny, they say some things perhaps that cause controversy, they go back down, Romney comes back up. So Romney has sustainability, perhaps, even if he doesn't have a lot of enthusiasm.
Do these ups and downs help the incumbent president on the sidelines largely?
There's no doubt that the president is doing better or is showing better in national polls. I think there are two general categories or two reasons for that. One is the better economic numbers or the perception that things are getting better, consumer confidence and unemployment rate, things like that. But this Republican infighting is a huge advantage. The president is really off the front pages if you think about it over the past 6 weeks. It hasn't been about Barack Obama, except when he does things like introduces this budget or talks about contraception. But he has been on the sidelines. This is one of those cases where absence makes the heart grow fonder, apparently. So the public is focused on the negativity of the Republican race. That is helping the president.
Are there issues, what a concept, issues, which are driving this discontent? Or is it just that people don't like Romney personally? Or are there issues in which these voters are saying, I like what this guy thinks about contraception, or I like what he thinks about education?
There is almost no difference in the Republican field, if you take out Ron Paul, among the candidates. Between Romney and Santorum, very little difference on any of the 10 most important issues. But what there is a difference in levels of trust about whether they really hold these positions. They all say they're conservative. Are they really? And so this is hurting Romney. The idea that as governor of Massachusetts, he took positions that were more moderate, that at his core, perhaps, people suspect he's more moderate than the rhetoric he's using now. But if you wanted to parse out issues on the economy or the deficit or jobs, it is hard to find a big difference between the two men.
I agree entirely. I think if you just look at the Romney speeches over the past 3 years, there is no sign that he's anything but a committed conservative. It's just that a huge chunk of the Republican Party does not believe that.
So March 6, 10 states, which ones are you watching?
Well, I think Ohio is obviously if not the whole ball of wax, the most important. It's a state that's a swing state in the general election. It should be a swing state in this contest. I think we're going to define who won or lost Super Tuesday probably by Ohio.
And Santorum, of course, could challenge Romney in Ohio. That could be a good state for him. The other state to watch, Georgia. If Newt Gingrich does not win in Georgia, his home state, can he stay in the race? Will he have the money and the standing to continue to be a credible candidate? I think that's a question to watch as well.
And it's just not over. Stuart, Rothenberg, Susan Page, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Sure, thanks.